The very first Manitoba Podcast Festival goes down International Podcast Day, Sunday, September 30th, 12 to 4 p.m. at the Park Theatre. Manitoba's podcast community gathers for an afternoon of networking, education, and so much more, featuring local podcast hosts, producers, radio personalities, taking part in panel discussions and Q&As. Take part in this fantastic networking opportunity. You can like us on Facebook at Manitoba Podcast Festival. Tickets are just $5. The very first Manitoba Podcast Festival, Sunday, September 30th at the Park Theatre.
Thank you to everyone who supports my dad's show. If you'd like to support Witchpolice Radio, go to patreon.com/witchpolice today.
You're listening to Garbage Hill, Winnipeg's first podcast network.
Welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I am in my second home of the mall food court, which seems to be the regular place these days for doing these podcasts. But I'm with someone who hasn't been on the show before and who has managed to keep a fairly low profile despite becoming more high profile in terms of her work. So maybe you want to just introduce yourself however you are comfortable introducing yourself, and then we can go from there, because I know you are sort of mysterious about your identity. So
I am, yeah. I'm a stay-at-home mom during the day. And at night, some nights, I'm a concert storyteller.
Okay.
So yeah, I just go.
That's a cool way of putting it. Actually, concert storyteller.
Yeah, yeah. And not really a reviewer, because I don't necessarily talk always about all the specifics of the show. It's more about my experiences with it. So.
Okay. And then you go use the name Ticketmomster.
Ticketmomster, yeah.
Which is pretty good to say.
Oh, glad you like it.
Yeah. So I think that probably like a lot of people, I'm not sure where I first saw some of your stuff, but I started seeing it kind of popping up a lot, and I was trying to figure out, is this someone that I know? Could it be someone that already is in the scene and I'm already familiar with?
I think a lot of people are wondering about that,
right,
actually,
because you seem to be at a lot of shows.
Yeah.
and because the scene is fairly tight-knit in terms of musicians and that, it's almost surprising that you're not someone who's already previously been in bands and stuff.
Yeah, nope, I haven't, and I'm not.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, so, and you mentioned it's not really reviews, and that's kind of what I found interesting about reading your stuff, because your articles or whatever you want to call them are basically a play-by-play of what's happened at the show. Because it's not I've written reviews for magazines and stuff of concerts and CDs.
Okay.
And it's very much here's my opinion of whether this is good or bad.
Yeah.
But you're not really doing that. You're just sort of almost giving someone the story of what happened because they couldn't be there, kind of to get their own,
Kind of like that, yeah. And a lot of it's just this is how I experienced it, and I'm not always going to, love everything.
Sure.
But I'll always be always try and be respectful and be fair about things. And so yeah, it's just that my mom is so funny. She's like, you talk or you write like the person is sitting right next to you, and this is how you're both experiencing it, kind of thing. So I think that I think people kind of attach themselves to that, which is nice.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely, that's a good way of putting it as well. I think it's that what kind of makes this so stand out so much is because it's not a journalistic thing at all. I mean, in the sense of the way it's written.
Yeah, I went to the Academy of Broadcasting, but I have no other journal. And I was at the University of Winnipeg as well. I got a degree from there, but I don't have any, typical journal kind of experience.
Right.
Journalistic
and it's almost refreshing as someone who does have a journalism background. And again, I used to write a lot of reviews for Uptown and various other magazines and stuff. It's totally different, and it totally breaks all the rules of what you're supposed to do for a review. And again, it's not a review, but it's neat to see, because it's something that when you have that training, you wouldn't think of writing in that style, if that makes sense. So
cool.
It's just kind of cool to see.
Awesome. That's an interesting way of. I like your perspective of that. That's really cool.
Well, yeah, because I have a hard time looking at something and not reviewing it, if that makes sense, just because I've done it, and it's hard to go to a show and want to write about it and not be pointing out kind of the things that were good and things that maybe needed some work, and then comparing it to other bands and stuff. But yeah, you're doing something fresh, I guess, a fresh take on it, which is cool. So
good.
How did you get started in this thing?
I lived abroad for almost a decade,
Okay.
and where I lived, there wasn't a lot of live shows. They didn't bring in a lot of people. They had DJs and stuff like that, but I wasn't really interested in that.
Yeah.
And where I was, it was they just didn't bring in people. And then so when we moved back here, which is where my husband and I are both from, I just started going to shows. I think I went really overboard. If I love something, I love it.
Right.
And I need lots and lots of it. So I just started going to shows. And then, people would ask me, all my friends, how was it? And then one of my friends, Vanessa, she posted on her Facebook page, she said, pick 5 of your favorite songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's an impossible question.
It's so hard. And so I did. Everyone was just kind of posting videos of their favorite
Okay.
songs. And I posted the video and then I wrote about it. And it was long. I wrote a long whole bunch of paragraphs about it, and to my surprise, most of my friends read it and they actually really liked it.
Okay.
And they were looking forward to the next day with the next song I'd pick and the next song I'd pick. And then another friend just said, why don't we just marry the two? And if you're going to all these shows, just write about the shows and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just start a blog, and you don't have to have any real experience for blogs. You just have to know how to write, and you can write. So just do it. And so I did, and here we are.
Cool. Well, it's obviously taken off. Has it gotten bigger than you expected when you started?
Yes.
Out?
Yeah. I thought that I would probably reach my limit at about 79 people, because I know maybe 30 people.
Right, people are just going to read it because they know you.
And then maybe their friends that would come on board, and then that would be it. So to reach over 2,000 is awesome, I don't think about it very much because it makes me freaked out that I feel like I'm sharing a lot, whereas really I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing a lot, but it is a lot with strangers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're still anonymous, right? But then, a lot of it's very personal because it's your personal take on the show.
Yeah. And then if things happen in my life, I'll write about that as well. A lot of my stories for a while there were about my dad because he passed away very suddenly,
right.
And so working through all that with in the context in a concert environment was really helpful to me. But to share that publicly was a bit unnerving. I was like, oh, what am I doing? But I just had to do it, and I think people really appreciated it. They seem to do really well.
Cool. Well, once it's out there, you don't know who's reading it either, right? It could be anybody.
Yeah. So that kind of makes me really nervous.
And the impression that I get from your post is that you go to shows alone, right?
Yes.
What was the reason for that? Is that so you can focus more on what's happening, or?
It's to focus more on what's happening, and also I think I'm the type of person that if I'm at a mall or something and I hear where I am at right now, and I hear a song in a store, I'll walk into the store just to hear the song.
Okay. Like if it's something you already know and like, or something you haven't heard before.
Yeah, if it's like Fleetwood Mac or something I've heard 100,000 times, I'll still walk into the store and just stand there and pretend I'm shopping. So I have trouble doing things when music is playing, and I have trouble talking. I'll have a conversation with you, but if I hear a song in the background that I love, I'll stop talking.
Focus on the song. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So to go to shows, I need I'd like to have my full attention, because it's hard for me to be all social and hey, how's it going? And how you doing? And, do you need a drink? Or I don't really like that.
And I guess you're keeping track to a fairly the level of information you're giving. You're usually naming the musicians and naming the songs they played in the order, and that obviously requires note taking. So how do you? If it's a band you've never seen before, do you look that stuff up afterwards, or?
It's mostly afterwards.
Okay.
I don't like to do any research on bands, just because I love that you go to a venue and it's all happy and excited, and I have no idea what I'm stepping into, and I like that feeling of just free falling in a concert.
Sure.
And especially when it turns out really well. And so
the opposite is not so great.
The opposite is like, oh man, I got to go home and write about this. And I just really enjoy that element of surprise.
Okay.
And so just going there and then experiencing it, and I write as many notes as I can, not too many where I'm all of a sudden not watching the concert or connecting with the concert, but as much as I can. And then I go home and I'll be writing lyrics, and I'll just Google all the lyrics and try and find out what those songs were, and maybe do a little bit of research after the fact about the band, so that it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. But when I first walk in there, I have no idea what's going on most of the time.
Do you transcribe your notes immediately after you get home, or?
I used to, but it takes a long time, especially when you're doing the research afterwards.
Sure.
So I'd be up till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I'd be up again at 7:30 to take my daughter to school, and that's just not healthy.
Right. Yeah.
So
for sure.
this year, the third year of this, I now go home and I might write like the beginning of the review just to get that energy out, kind of thing, so that I can sleep. And then I'll
so the initial feeling you can put it on paper.
Put it out, and then I'll go to sleep, and then take her to school, and then write when I get back home.
Okay. That's the reason I ask is because when I worked as a reporter, this was been like the early 2000s, so people didn't have cell phones and stuff to record everything. So I was taking a lot of notes. And my strategy was basically, as soon as I got back to the office, I would have to type out everything I'd written down. Otherwise, my chicken scratch notes would be illegible, and it would be just gone. So.
There are times when I'm like that as well. I used to use a cell phone, and then I got some complaints from people sitting next to me. I think as you know, it's totally fair. They just when you can turn the cell phone off, and I was like, ugh, I gotta find another way of doing this. And so, and also one time I was typing on the cell phone, and then the whole thing went dark. And then you lost that was it, right? I lost the whole thing. That was really terrifying. So I was like, no, I need something more like concrete that I can use here. So it's just a notebook, and then I got a special little pen that lights up. Oh, cool. So I can see in the dark. So I can write in the dark. So that's really cool.
Do you, when you go to a show, are you always assuming you're going to be writing about it, or is there ever just, I want to go to a show and leave the Ticketmomster stuff behind?
Both, actually. I always assume that I will, but once I get there, sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. I just want to enjoy this. I don't want to write about it at all. And there are also times when I'll go to a show, I'm thinking of one in particular, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I didn't write about him because he'd been playing the piano for like 60 years, and he was a very accomplished piano player, and I just thought, going in there with like no information about him, it would just be so disrespectful that when I got there, I thought, I can't write about this. I just don't know enough about him, and even if I go home and do research, I still won't know enough to do this justice. There's too much history. And I felt they would be very disrespectful, so I didn't write about that one.
And then as far as local bands, I mean, because you do a lot of writing about local bands. Did you have any background going to shows in the local scene? Like, have you been doing this for years and not writing about it, or is this a fairly recent thing?
No, it's all recent. I don't know. I hear names here and there. If I see, people on Facebook or any other social media, I'll write their names down. I have a list of local bands I'd like to see. Some people contact me and say, do you want to come to our show? It's a long list at the moment, it's going to take a while.
Well, I've got the same kind of list. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I still have a list of bands I want to interview. So it's hard. There's so many.
There is, which is great, which is fantastic. And great that you can go to shows and still see new people. You're like, every time, who is this person? Or I'll see a band that I know all the members, and then one guy who I don't know, or one girl I don't know. I'll be like, what? Who are these people? So it's interesting how the local bands work like that.
Or you wait long enough and you end up seeing a band that has 4 members from 4 different bands that you knew previously, and then they're all in a new band.
Oh, I'm not there yet.
It'll happen. But it's a very incestuous music scene, so it'll eventually happen. It's happened on my show, actually. People I've interviewed like 3 years ago, and now they're in a band with 2 other people I interviewed 2 years ago, and it's weird. It's weird. It happens though.
It's only been 3 years for me, so I'm not there yet.
Just wait. Just give it time. Is there I mean, I can understand, like, when you go into the big shows and things like, big name touring acts and all that.
Right.
That makes sense if you hadn't been previously going to local bands. Everyone goes to those shows, right? I mean, those are usually, anyone who's interested in music has their kind of high-profile bands they go see. But what sparked the interest in the local scene? Like, where did you... I mean, if you weren't already kind of involved, where did you start hearing about some of these bands?
I think that I'm more partial to the smaller shows. I really am not like I go to the MTS shows, but I know that those are more like shows. Unless you're going to see like Santana, who is like an incredible musician, and all his his wife and everyone else is an incredible musician. Most of it is just like it's
video
a show.
And pyrotechnics.
And I'm not really partial to that. I love instruments, and I love the sounds of instruments. I love small spaces with instruments. And so a lot of local bands will play in small places. And I started off, I think, mostly with local jazz, and then kind of just branched out from there, hearing more about other like rock bands or other indie bands and stuff like that. So
jazz, was that your main area of interest when you started this, or?
My main area of interest has always really been like rock and a bit of folk.
A lot of that in Winnipeg too. So,
Well, I grew up here, so and the jazz thing happened relatively recently. I think I just became a tiny bit bored of rock.
I can see that.
And I was like, I need to get into something else here, and it's a huge learning curve to try and get into jazz when you have no experience with it. So I'm just I'm just headstrong, trying to learn as much as I can about it.
Well, that's like me as well. I listen to a lot of jazz, but I feel like a lot of it's over my head in terms of just what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get more and more jazz musicians on the show, and I have been, but it is definitely a learning curve. Like, because I can understand, like, I played in punk bands and things like that over the years, and that stuff, no problem, I get it.
Yeah.
I get hip hop, I get all that stuff. But yeah, jazz is like, I love it, but knowing what's actually happening there it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, it can be tricky.
And I know there's stuff like, I think it's called, is it free jazz?
Yeah,
where it's like they all play all together, and it's just like, I saw one free jazz show and I didn't write about it because I was like, I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah. It's funny because that's actually the type of jazz I listen to most. Like, I love hearing that. I think it's because my explanation for why I love it, because people ask me all the time, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you listening to this? Is that I like how it's just complete chaos, and then suddenly, like, after 5 minutes of noise, everyone comes back together, and they're all playing something. So it's the fact that it sounds completely unrehearsed or unwritten, and then it just suddenly, obviously, it's planned. Like, all that noise is done on purpose, and that just blows my mind that they can do that. Like, they can come back into 5 guys suddenly playing all together for 2 seconds, and then it goes back to noise again. I love that about it. So. Yeah,
I find that I just can't follow it. And when I was talking to a gentleman, I think he's on. I can't remember what stations he's on, but he was telling me like how to listen to it. Okay. And I was like, if I had to be taught how to listen to this, how am I going to get this? Or how are regular people going to get this? But not a knock against it. I just don't understand it right now, and I would try it again for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm not an authority on what's good or what, and just because I don't get it doesn't mean that it's not good.
For sure, yeah. Well, I don't think it's possible to be an authority on what's good because it's so subjective anyway.
Oh,
right?
totally, yeah, absolutely.
Do you have you run into any issues where you're going to a show and there's some type of music that you just can't? I mean, like, kind of like that just doesn't make sense to you. Like, I mean, because the reason I asked too is because I've been talking to a few people about this lately. That there's a lot of music that younger people are making, and it's not for me. Yeah. Like, it's not supposed to be for me. If I liked it, they wouldn't be doing it right. and for a time I was like, oh, this is crap. It's not good. I don't like it. But then it dawned on me, like, no, I'm not supposed to like it. I'm a dad. I'm in my mid-30s. Like, I'm not the audience for this. Yeah. Has that happened? Have you had a band that clearly you're not the target audience for?
Is her name K-Flay? K something? I saw her. I can't remember her. I can't remember her exact name, and she was doing another version of like grunge, and I was like, wow, like this is, I get this, but I don't, but it's not for me. Like, it's not. This is written for if I was, if I had kids when I was younger, this would be written for my kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like it just, that was really a revelation for me, just because I was always of the age where music was being made for me.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, you get older and you're like, oh, this is being made for kids who are younger than me. And it's just, it is. It's kind of it's a bit.
It's a weird one because you want to get into it, right? You want to find it because obviously it means something to the audience that it's for. Yeah. And it's like there's a block. There's like a mental block. Yeah. I thought she was great anyway, though. I really liked her and I would absolutely see her again. Yeah. But it's definitely not music written for me. And then sometimes I go to shows where the bands are very, very young, and so they're talking about all those things that I've already been through. Right, of course,
so I can relate to it, but I'm not at that level anymore, or that point anymore in my life. So, but I'm always respectful, and I always think that I always have an open mind about it. And I remember those moments. I remember like all the first dates and the whatever. I remember all that stuff. So it's kind of nice to just sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm glad I'm not there anymore. I'm glad I'm here.
It's hard to get past the initial judgment of like, what is this? But because I've noticed too, if I'm interviewing someone who's like in their early 20s, sometimes people will be on the show when they're 18, and they're closer in age to my kids than they are to me, which is terrifying to think about.
Isn't it?
It's like this is why I don't get it. Yeah. But please tell me about it. Like so it's weird. It's weird. Is there anyone locally that you kind of at the top of your must-see list? I know you mentioned you have kind of a list of bands going that you really want to see.
I have a huge list. You know what? I really want to see Noble Thieves. They've been on my list forever and ever and ever. And I did see them once, but I wasn't prepared, and so I didn't actually take in their set as much as I wanted to. So Noble Thieves is at one of the top parts. Yeah. And there are other ones. I'd like to see.
You got a list?
Right. I have a list.
All right. Come prepared.
Yeah, can I get the list? And I will read some of the names off of my list. The list is long.
Have you been able to cross off many, or is it
I
just
have.
growing at a faster rate than...
It seems to be growing more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've crossed things off, but yeah, it just keeps growing. Here it is. Apollo Suns. I've wanted to see Apollo
really
Suns for a long time. Mahogany Frog.
Yeah.
Are they around?
Yes, they are. They opened for the Flaming Lips at the Jazz Festival this year.
Okay. J.D. Edwards. Surprisingly, I've never seen J.D. Edwards. Silence Kit, Osmond
really
Davis
live,
Band. I saw a bit of Osmond Davis Band at Festival, but just the tail end of it, and I was like, I must see more of that. Joe Curtis Band. You've done some stuff with him?
Yeah, he's actually going to be on the show again soon. And I did an episode of Mom's House with him. And he was at my house playing an outdoor show in my backyard too.
I saw that.
The guy has an incredible voice.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it because I was like, no, I don't want to hear any of it.
Yeah.
I just want to go there and experience it.
Yeah.
And I think I was scrolling Facebook or something, and I did hear like a tiny snippet of him, and I was like, oh yes, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Don't listen anymore because you go to the show and hear it all there.
Well, he's actually a good example of how kind of open the local music scene is, because I had never met him before. I didn't really know who he was. I'd seen his name pop up because he's worked as a session guitarist for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So I knew people who had worked with him, but I didn't know his own music. And when I got asked to guest host the Mom's House episode, I've done a few with them now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a first time meeting him, and we got along extremely well because it was just a really good conversation, and his songs were incredible. So then I asked him to play my backyard show, thinking he'd be too busy or whatever, and he's like, no, I'm coming after work, no problem. And then So I'm talking to him in a few weeks about on the podcast to do a follow sit-down episode and stuff, and he's great, totally cool guy, and it's nice that I feel like that's the general vibe most local musicians have too.
Oh, good.
Super friendly and open and wanting to do stuff, and it's cool. Yeah.
Cool, good.
But yeah, I would recommend seeing him because
No, I'm looking
really
forward to that. Yeah. Marisol Nagash as well.
Also
I'd like to see her.
Yeah, I had her on the show as well last year, and she played 3 songs for me just in her apartment, and it was super good. Like she's really talented. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But that's a pretty diverse list.
Yeah,
I mean,
it goes on and on. Yeah. Like there's still a whole bunch. So yeah.
But that's all over the place in terms of genre, right? So you're trying to get as wide a range as you can.
Yeah. I like there are some like I don't know a lot about hip hop and rap, and I feel like I would like to go to those shows, but I'm nervous about writing about them because I know so little about it, and I don't want to be disrespectful or come across as totally ignorant of it. Although that hasn't bothered me in the past, right? Because this is a learning journey for me. It's not like I know everything and I'm going to tell you everything about everything. I honestly have no idea about a lot of things. So I think we're all. But that maybe
almost makes it good too. I mean, a refreshing read, because it's not some critic who's done this for 20 years and has been writing about music forever. It's like an opinion of someone who is new to something and just like this is their first take kind of on it.
Yeah, and all those first time things are always so much fun.
Yeah, they're cool. Well, that was like the thing with Joe Curtis I was just saying, right? Like I'd never met him, and then he played these songs and they were great, and we got along great, and it was a good interview, and
it's always it's such a bonus when that happens.
It is for sure. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned hip hop too, because that's I think one of the genres that to me I grew up listening to a lot of it. A lot of my friends were rappers when I was a teenager and in my 20s and stuff. Yeah. But I don't understand what the kids are doing now with it.
Oh,
and
really?
I actually had a guy sitting right here doing an interview in the mall here, and he tried to explain it to me, and that was kind of the dawning for me that like this isn't for me anymore. Yeah. It's for younger people. Because the style has changed so dramatically from what I used to listen to, and what it is now, it's like alien music to me.
See, I didn't even know that, so that's really interesting.
So and I mean, I know a lot of friends who are my age and older who still do it, but they do it more in the older style that I can wrap my brain around. Okay. But it's turned into this whole new thing, which I would like to get into, because obviously it means a lot to a lot of people, but I just, it's a roadblock for me. So
wow. Interesting.
And I think there's probably a lot of genres like that too. I mean,
that change and
they morph and they become something different, and not worse or better, but it's just a new version of it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cool.
What was the main reason behind the anonymity, and are you worried that you're going to eventually be kind of revealed as who you are? Is that ever a concern? Or?
It is a concern. I work really hard to remain anonymous. I mean, eventually, I think some people are going to figure it out. Or I wonder. When I first started this, I had a discussion with my husband about it. And he was very leery about it, because I do go to shows by myself. Yeah. And it's dark. It's at night. There's people drinking and doing whatever, and I'm by myself. And this is not my favorite hobby of his. He wishes that I would do other hobbies. But this is it's my passion. It's my thing. And so he just requested that I keep it anonymous, just for safety reasons. And then plus I'm saying all these private things and sharing a lot of things, and I don't really, it's nice when people really do react positively to it, and I enjoy that. But at the same time, I'm like, that makes me kind of nervous.
Well, because you don't want to be recognized walking down the street or taking your kids somewhere.
Not really. Not at this point, actually. So. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't even like going to shows sometimes because of it's the same reasons. It's a bunch of drunk people. It's late. You know what's going to happen, right? Yeah.
Well, you just you just kind of play it smart and just do your thing. And I never hang out there. I just go and I experience it, and I'm in love with it. And I go back to my car and back home, kind of thing.
Good,
so
yeah. Do you? What is the eventual goal with this? Are you hoping to just keep doing it as long as you feel like it, or is there something else you want to do with this
I'm not really a goal person. Okay. I'm doing this now. I hope that it moves in other places. It has moved in other places. I mean, I'm here with you.
Yeah, for sure. When you did the paper cut interview, and I've seen you're giving away tickets to things and stuff sometimes. So
it is moving in different directions, and I love that, and I absolutely welcome that. It makes it interesting.
Yeah.
But I have no ultimate end of the line goal for it.
It's not like you're trying to write a book or something out of this.
No, that'd be fun though.
It would be cool. Yeah.
That's a good suggestion. I like that.
You have a lot of the content already written, right?
I do. Oh my goodness, look at all this cool stuff we're coming up with here.
But no, that wasn't the plan. The plan is just to do it when you do it. And,
But I like the suggestions. That was a good one.
Okay, great. I won't take any royalties on that. If people are hearing about you for the first time on here and haven't seen any of your stuff, what's the best way for them to just find the archives of reviews written?
Oh man, the archives is difficult. I'm mostly just on Facebook, and so if you just want to scroll backwards, that's where you'd find it.
Is there any permanent blog or anything you're keeping this?
I am working on a web page, but it's very slow. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I don't want to just put out a crappy web page. I want it to be as best as I can do, kind of thing. So I'm still working on it. I'm hoping if I say a date, it's gonna it's gonna tie me to that date. But I'm hoping by before the end of the year. So
so it gives you a bit of time to kind of fine tune it, right?
Yeah.
And are you going to put the whole archives of all of your shows, or
just the new ones? Yeah, I'd like to put everything on there. I don't know how websites work, so we'll see if that actually ends up happening. But.
Okay. How many have you written so far? Do you know? Do you keep track? Or?
I think the last time I counted, I had written a story about 250 bands, I guess, so far in 3 years. So the first 2 years were heavy.
Yeah.
And then this year I've scaled it back a tiny bit just to, I reworked my priorities a tiny bit in terms of sleeping and eating and,
doing everyday family stuff.
Things.
Yes,
as opposed to just, headstrong into this. So.
Yeah, cool, okay. Well, that makes sense. It's not a full-time job for you.
No,
right? So,
no.
Okay. How many shows would you say you go to on an average month?
That's really tough because, as you know, sometimes when it rains, it pours shows, right? And it's like 1 month will be just chock full of shows, and then the next month will be kind of a little bit drier or whatever. So it's really hard to say about just whatever comes.
Depends on Summer's probably busier, I would imagine.
Summer's busy with festivals. Mostly Jazz Fest and Folk Fest, and then the Toba Rock Festival. We're going to that as well. Okay. So that's a new one. Yeah.
Well, then you get to Cross Silence get off your list probably on that list.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and so if people want to check you out, Facebook's the best at the moment?
Facebook's the best. I'm on Instagram as well, and Twitter's just kind of an afterthought for me.
Well,
I don't like Twitter.
I'll link to a bunch of this stuff on the show notes so people can check it out and find your stuff. And you can presumably keep doing it for as long as...
Still going.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, if people want to hear more episodes of this show, you can go to witchpolice.com. All 300 and whatever episodes are there for free download and streaming, including a lot of the bands that you have talked about in your articles or on your list or whatever. So hopefully there can be someone reads one of your stories and then comes over here and listens to the podcast and
that'd be awesome.
Cover all your bases, right?
Yeah.
So and then this will also air on UMFM. They air older episodes on Sundays at midnight. So it's July, mid to late July now. When we're recording this, it might not air till December or something. But it's kind of cool because it just gives an extra boost to the interview that maybe people who missed it the first time around, they can get it there. But it's always available in podcast form. You can go all the way back to 2012 if you want to. I don't recommend it, but the newer ones are better usually. But there's some good, it gets
better as you go along.
There's some gems throughout though.
Same with me.
And that's pretty much it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Exactly. Great. Awesome. Thanks.